thank you very much for joining us here on Joint Caucus, because on Joint Caucus, having had the minority on Wednesday and the majority on Thursday, it's important to bring both together and find out what they make of the issue that we have for them this evening. There's been lots of conversations about who is stealing whose manifesto and who is getting things right. And so tonight we want to settle the debate once and for all. So it started with Okada, and you had the transport minister talking about consultations in relation to the implementation of the provisions of the law. Now we have clarity, because the NPP through the Vice President Dr. Bawumia says no, the government would not legalize Okada. They have said they want to get Ghanaians to have, acquire vehicles, and so that is what they will do. Well, for the NDC, the government is confused. They talked about consultations, and now, even before the consultations are concluded, government has announced its position. Well, that is not all. There's been lots of controversies about the payment of some 3.56 billion Ghana cedis to some depositors who had their monies converted into bonds, 5-year bonds without interest. Well, the government has decided to pay them, and the NDC says government is doing so because we said we were going to do so. I'm sure you might have heard the president of the Freight Forwarders Association in Tema talking about the decision by customs that they can go ahead and clear salvaged vehicles. So this evening the question is, who is stealing whose manifesto? Is the government scared of the NDC and hence implementing the very things the NDC talks about in its manifesto? Or is it a case of the NDC crying wolf for fear of losing the election and thus wanting to capitalize on the implementation of these policies to say, we have the best of plans? My name is Winston Amoa, and this is Joint Caucus on the Joy News channel. We'll go for a short break. When we return, I'll be introducing my guest, and then the discussions will begin. We'll be right back. Right, so welcome back from that short break, and thank you so much for staying with us. To my left is Sadiq Abdullah representing the NDC, and to my right is George AC representing the NPP. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Rules very simple. Each would have his time. We will check the time to make sure everybody has equal opportunity. No interjections. I host the show, and I would make the decisions. All right, so let me start off with you, Sadiq, because your party says the government is stealing your manifesto.
Yes.
But the NPP says, look, the NDC is not reading. These are things we promised we were going to do, and we are doing them. So where from these comments of stealing our manifesto?
Yes, so good evening to viewers. So all these things is coming from the things that we promised in our manifesto, the things that we've been very vocal about within the past few months in terms of the things that we're promising to do. There's been the much talked about Okada policy. There's one on the salvage cars, and then there's one also on the licensure of stopping the licensure of exams for students, for teacher trainees, and then most importantly as well, the promise to pay account holders of the banks that have been collapsed, for instance. Now, these are 4 of the key issues that we've been very, very vocal about in terms of things that we want to be able to do when we come to power. Then within the first few weeks as well, we began to see a certain attempt from the NPP to begin to wanting to claw back at that particular goodwill that we started to enjoy relative to the announcement of these things from our party. So these are the main reasons why we comfortably say that the NPP has been stealing our ideas. Look, on Okada, for instance, when we announced the Okada policy, what was happening from the NPP side? Key people from the party were mocking it and said that this was not for graduates, this was not a very good policy. They made arguments about aesthetics and all of that, and they provided superior arguments to them and made them understand that the Okada policy, for instance, goes beyond the riders. It goes beyond them. Within last year, for instance, from January last year to January this year, the total online transactions that had happened within the country is $826 million. a chunk of that $826 million had gone to online delivery riders. Beyond that as well,
nobody's against on delivery riders.
Yes, but you see, when we speak about Okada,
passengers.
when we speak about Okada, maybe they got it wrong. When you speak about Okada, it goes beyond just the riders that pick the passengers. It includes all of these people. Now, what you would understand is that
legalize Okada and regulate it. Currently, the law speaks against Section 128 of the Motor Transport Regulations speaks against passengers being transported on motorbikes. That's what the law is against.
Exactly, but most importantly as well, you would recognize that even for those people that also do deliveries, and then these other people that provide other services relative to Okada, you recognize that there isn't any major regulatory framework to accommodate all of them. So what we are looking to do is pass an all-encompassing
that includes all of them. So you can't legalize what is not banned.
No, so there's a safety element of it. We are saying regulation. The fact that it's not been banned doesn't mean that we can provide
legalization and regulation.
Okay, so we're looking to put in a law that regulates their work in the same ways that the DVLA law or act also regulates the transport sector. Beyond that as well, there are other issues of safety that had come up relative to the announcement of this Okada policy. These are things that we are looking to look into and add it to make it a comprehensive law to take care of the entire industry. But beyond that, the NPP had consistently been mocking it and saying all sort of things, until provided the superior arguments and made them understand that this goes beyond the riders. This includes each and every, there are other elements of the economy that it impacts as well. Look, there are people that import these Okadas. They speak about graduates not having or not wanting to engage in Okada. There are different parts of the value chain that involves graduates. Last year alone in Nigeria, I know they've always made the argument that in Lagos, for instance, or in greater part of Lagos, there's been a ban for it. That's in the greater part of Lagos, but in the most part of Lagos, it's still operational. And in the other 36 states of Nigeria as well, it's still operational. Go Okada, which is an online or app, OTT app, which is a motor ride or Okada ride-hailing app in Nigeria, raised $5.3 million to expand their operations in Nigeria. And who are they going to employ? Who are the people that are going to be involved in the whole operationalization of Go Okada in Nigeria, for instance? So we've made the superior arguments to them. Then we saw an attempt to sort of refer to engagement that the NPP had done within the last few months relative to Okada. And we made them understand that, look, regardless of whatever engagement you seem to have done, you still haven't been so vocal about this, and we haven't seen any commitment or a strong will from you to have to or to want to legalize this and regulate it. Then they backtrack on it.
When it comes to Okada, the vice president has made it very clear the NPP would not legalize it. So that's at variance. How have they stolen your idea?
No, but that's at variance to the initial conversation, the initial interactions or the initial announcement that came from the road ministry. We've seen what the deputy road minister has said relative to it.
Consultations on the implementation of the provisions of the law.
Yes, but our point
for the consideration of cabinet.
Yes, but our point.
They didn't say we're having discussions.
No, but our point is that you don't for a policy that you dismissed, for a policy that you mocked, days after, you don't try to come back to sort of try to announce that, oh, this is something that we've begun to look into way before that.
I'll get back to you. Just for the first 5 minutes. You've had your 5 minutes, so George would also have his 5 minutes, and then we'll continue. George, so Sadiq says, look, you people, when they started, you came out to say, oh, in fact, we have been holding consultations all this while. And then when you realized that people were laughing, mocking you because you had not made any superior arguments, then you came back to say, oh, we are not going to legalize it. In effect, you're confused.
Yeah, Winston, thank you. Good evening to your production crew and our viewers. Good evening to my good brother.
Yes.
The MPP, we are very focused. We know where we are going, where we've taken this country, and where we intend to get this country to Ghana beyond aid. The issue of Okada, we've made our point clear. Whatever conversations that might have started at the initial stages, yes, is it a fact that we were having consultations as to the way forward? Yes, because, Winston...
And that way forward, what was the way forward that you were looking at?
No, the consultations could be either we enforce the law stricto sensu, which says Okada commercially is prescribed. They came out with a law prescribing Okada, which is the commercial usage of motorbikes, right? And it's been on the books. We have a lot of laws on the books that are not being enforced, okay? Why we've decided to look away, the consultation processes and co will all culminate ultimately to say, at this point, let's not, allow these groups to function. Or we keep looking away whilst we find alternative. Which alternative is what His Excellency...
Did you at any point consider legalization of it?
No, that's the consultation. So either to legalize or to enforce it is another matter.
So why then have you made a point? Why have you made a position known that the consultations you said in that statement was going to continue in October?
Yeah, so that consultation may even say, we have said we are not going to legalize
so
it, right? But we can go on to say, let's enforce the law as of it is now.
Based on what you have said,
yes.
Why didn't you wait for the consultations to end before making a position known?
Oh, no. Our opponents have decided to make it a major point in the public domain. Media people like yourself will ask, what's your position on these Okada thing as being espoused by the minority or the opposition NDC? Our members may be inclined to respond, and some response may come the way we are hearing in the public domain. But the final stamp is being put on it by His Excellency the Vice President that no, wait a minute, we are not going to legalize it. But we are finding alternative ways for these people to transition from what they are doing to vehicle ownership. Okay, that is what we term the transport sector recapitalization project. Okay, which is what we are rolling out to get people who drive rickety buses and co to come in and own their own private, commercial vehicles, a la the investment companies that are building VW and others. So we get them going.
Here.
Yeah,
George, you say you are consulting, and a presentation will be made to Cabinet for consideration.
Good.
Now, the next batch of consultations haven't concluded. In fact, they haven't started.
Yeah.
In the middle of that consultation, or while you wait for the consultation to begin, you make a decision.
No,
so what was the essence of the consultation then?
No, as of now, how do you know whether the consultation...
Because you haven't started the next leg of the consultation.
Okay.
The letter says the next one was going to be starting in October.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, a presentation will be made to Cabinet for consideration.
Thank you.
The last time I checked, we are not in October.
Yes.
So...
And we have made our position clear. Let the opposition take their baby. They think it's their baby. They're going to legalize it and all that. Let it be theirs. We don't want to engage in that space with them that we are considering legalizing it before even we get to election. No. So that is what the departure of our position from theirs. They say it is their baby. We said, okay, take it. If you travel in the sub-region, as he said, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, they use it commercially. I've been in Cote d'Ivoire as well, but it's not there. I stand to be corrected. Okada is not in Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, so it tells you that Ghana can also say, look, and the issue is a dicey issue. I've said it somewhere that as of now, if you decide to enforce the law the way it ought to be, a chunk of the young people or the youth unemployed is going to face some difficulty. It's providing something
you admit
in the
meantime.
meantime.
Jobs for the youth.
Oh, definitely, as of now. But the argument too is being made, Winston, that if that be the case, then our sisters who stand at certain places in the night, are we going to legalize it? Because it's also creating jobs for them. Okay? Are we going to legalize, forgive my choice of word, it's too outlandish, but robbery? Because certain people are getting jobs out of it.
Morally wrong.
Good. You get it. Good. So we'll look at it. They say this is what they're going to do. We don't have any qualms with that. I have heard the NDC before say they are going to legalize and streamline galamsey operations. It never happened. 2008. They had 8 consecutive years. It never happened. Okay? So I don't know if it's the same way they are going to deal with this one. But because this has become a topical national issue, maybe they will take a critical look. I know for a fact they are not going to win this election, but that is beside the point. Okay, so let's get it. They've made their point. Our vice president has come out saying MPP is not legalizing Okada. End of story.
Okay, so let's move on. Sadiq, any point you want to make? Because he's made it very categorical.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying to them. That, I mean, I've seen the MPP try to sort of create parallels with prostitution, for instance. Somebody even said that soon, if we allow these things, we would use the same principle to legalize the donkey transport business. But perhaps maybe they are failing to appreciate the impact. I've made the argument about the value chain that the Okada policy impact beyond the riders per se. There's a part about it that has to do with government revenues. There are companies, organizations that keep importing these Okadas into the country. And the argument has been made to all of them by the Okada Riders Association to tell the vice president to say that, look, I mean, if you're looking to give us this particular cars, where were you when you know you're taking all the relevant statutory payments from us when we import this Okada into the country? Don't you know that it's risky, for instance, enough for you to prevent it coming into your country? You allow for it to come into your country. You allow for the various value chains.
Our laws are not against riding of motorcycles.
Yes, exactly. So that was the principle.
So if they're coming into the country and they're supposed to pay duty, it is not against the law. It is what I'm about to say may be a bit simplistic. That becomes the problem. Yeah, what I'm about to say may seem a bit simplistic, but it's at the heart of the particular matter. Look, the argument we've always made is that when you could ride your motorbike and pick me behind you, you could, enforce for me to wear the helmet and the various other protections for it. But when somebody decides to do similar thing and decides to put a toll on it, to charge somebody for him to earn a particular revenue, or build a career out of it, he said no. Okay. We have to move on to...
if I may have just...
Yes, 1 minute for you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy he talked about the delivery service and you put him right that it's not a commercial usage as far as carrying passengers is concerned. They're using it for their work and it's not prescribed by any law in the country.
It's not regulated.
No, come on. No. Delivery services, come on.
Hold on, gentlemen.
The second one.
The rule still is the same.
Yes, it's okay.
If you need to make any clarification,
me, right?
you draw my attention. Go ahead.
Thank you. And the second one, Winston, I know you're a deep researcher. The issue of insurance, what is the actual analysis that is gone into these Okada legalization thing? Maybe the NDC would. When we said free SHS, they asked us to put the cost on the table. We did. Okay, so what is the actual analysis and conclusions that they've done on this? Because I've heard somewhere that the risk involved in the Okada being used commercially is about 90%. And so which insurance company is ready to insure such, a service at 90% risk rate? That is another matter that maybe will be discussed.
Great.
Going
so
forward.
Let's move on to another issue. So the Okada bit, you have a different position, they have a different position.
Yeah.
So that settles it.
Yeah.
But another issue is the issue of the payment of depositors who have their funds locked. The NDC says, we are going to pay everybody by end of 2021. Nobody will be owed money. The MPP says, we are paying the people. Now, and I'm starting with you this time around, George. After their manifesto launch, on the 12th of September, so the NDC launches its manifesto on the 7th of September. On the 12th of September, the president in the Bono East region makes the point that, we are going to pay everybody his money, latest by 16th September. And that happened. But prior to that, you had given them bonds.
Yeah.
No interest bonds for 5 years. Yeah. And they had to discount it if they wanted cash. Yeah. What changed?
Yeah, thank you, Winston. Winston, the issue is that the MPP, we are committed to paying every depositor's money. We had said this long ago. I'm a part of the government communications team. We've had briefing, okay? Which briefing told us by end of September, everybody will be paid. And I agree with you. We had instituted about between 1.7 to 3.7% of the people owed, depositors owed, whose monies are within a certain category and will be given bonds. Okay, not the lower level people, investors, depositors and co. And there's a certain category, and it's constituted between 1.7 to 3.7 Okay, the rest were all going to be paid. And so, as of the time His Excellency announced that, yes, and don't forget, Weston, that this whole, conundrum of non-payment and challenges of microfinance and co was done by the NDC.
Yeah, but they promised they were going to
pay. And they never did. They never did anything.
No, but George, hold on. So, you are always saying they're going to pay.
They gave 10,000 as ceiling.
George, I take you to the 8th of February 2020, right here in the studio on News File.
Yes, sir.
Ken Oforiatta,
yes,
when he was asked that question by Samson Ladi Anyanini, said, well, we are left with some 4 billion to pay.
Yeah,
I have 1 billion somewhere,
yeah,
and I have a paper, that's a bond, of 3 billion to pay. At that point in time, you were talking about paying these people with bonds, which you went ahead to do, and said you had paid them 100%.
Yeah.
So what changed that you decided to pay them cash?
Oh no, but as a country, the country is a going concern. If at any point in time you are taking bonds, okay, what you are saying is that instead of paying you your cash at this point, we're giving you paper for a latter date. Okay, previously the NDC had given a ceiling of 10,000. When they pay 10,000, the rest they don't care what happens. Okay, we came in and then we decided we're going to pay everybody his or her money. And then we said no, because of the volume of the amount and others, we'll issue papers there. As time went on, maybe the finance minister, there is certain, in the fiscal space and monetary space, things can happen. Okay, prioritization and co. So you feel, okay, we've given these people bonds or papers. We can take them and give them cash after all, okay? So once we are committed to the payment, and our schedule is up to the end of September, we're going to pay everybody, okay? And if we decided that, okay, at this point, we're going to take the paper and give you cash, what's wrong? It's a government in office, and we thought this would be in the best interest of the depositors and the country as a whole. What stops us from doing it? Yes, I admit.
And you decide to do this in an era where we have COVID-19, the government is struggling to raise revenue, the government is resorted to borrowing, and government decides to pay cash when you have the option of a 5-year period.
Government is pumped 21.6 billion into the banking sector reform. Facts, right?
Go ahead.
What did we do? How did we raise all those monies? So we can streamline and stabilize the financial sector, okay? Because any economy can be strong and solid if the banking sector is strong. And there is a correlation between the strong nature and progressive nature of our economy and the performance of the banking sector. And so we decided to inject over 21.6 billion that was not planned for as far as our manifesto promises were concerned. These monies would have been used for massive infrastructural development, but we decided to redirect it to save the banking sector and depositors, okay, because of our commitment that the individual's welfare is of prime importance to us as a government. His Excellency the President.
Okay, so let me just say,
so that is how come we've committed that to the depositors. Okay. Yes, we are paying salary. There's COVID. There are challenges. So we are paying.
Let me just
commitments
by way of information.
Yes.
By way of information.
Yes.
It's very important, and I like to always give information. Let me get to the NPP's manifesto, and I will take you to page 14. Now, the penultimate paragraph says, as at the end of the first quarter of 2020, a total amount of 13.6 billion has been spent on the resolution of failed banks. Specialized deposit-taking institutions as SDIs, microfinance institutions, and the establishment of the Consolidated Bank, as well as the capitalization of the Ghana Amalgamated Trust. End of first quarter. 13.6 billion. I'm continuing. Additionally, with the President's directives to pay fully all depositors whose funds were locked up with the failed SDIs and MFIs, an amount of 5 billion was spent. This brings the total expenditure on the financial sector interventions as of June 2020 to 18.6 billion. Government has also committed an amount of 3.1 billion towards supporting investors in failed asset management companies regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. As we speak, you have spent 18.6 billion.
Go to the next one. Go to the next
I
one.
have gone to it and I have told you that the 3.6 billion that you talk about is what you are about to spend. You haven't spent it yet.
Oh, this then where is it?
Page 14, you can check it.
From page 14.
Yes.
Failed asset management companies regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission, right? Then you move to the next one. This would bring the overall total government expenditure
this would bring.
Yes.
And I'm saying when you spend that, it takes it to 21.6
billion. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So
that's what it tells. That's
just by way of clarification.
Yeah, it's good.
That's by way of clarification.
It hasn't, obviated anything.
So that's just a way of clarification.
Thank you.
Yes. When you have spent that one, we will bring it to that
you come and talk about it.
So, Sadiq.
Yes.
He says, and they say, we said we were going to pay everybody.
No, I mean,
so where from this you have stolen our idea?
Okay.
When they had already made it clear.
No, so you just cited the February interview with the finance minister, for instance. Beyond that, on the 28th of July, the deputy finance minister, what's his name? The other one, Charles Dubois, made the point that 98% of these people have been paid in full.
Bank.
90%. The bank depositors have been paid in full, 98%. We challenged it and made the argument to them that that can't be true, and that these people, the depositors, have not been paid in full. All of this was said in reaction to our promise that we're going to ensure that within the first 1 year of the new NDC administration, these people were going to be paid in full. He said that in reaction so that he would be able to parry that off. Then what happens after that, when we continuously made the very superior argument and our presidential candidate made the point to them that the next NDC administration shall not put up any long-term payment plans that would further worsen the living conditions of the sections of the collapsed institutions. Collapsed institutions of the collapsed institutions, unjustifiable collapse of Ghanaian-owned financial institutions. I'm mixing that up, but most importantly, what I'm trying to say is that after we made that promise, they've consistently been making the argument that they've paid these people, they are going to pay these people, and all of those things. But for us, our argument has been that once these people have not been paid, we're not going to elongate their sufferings further relative to this. Then what happens within the last 2 days? What do we hear from the NPP? That they are going to now finally pay these people in cash, when in fact, you've already made provisions to say that you're going to pay them in bonds spread over 4 or 5 years. So all of these things points to the argument I made earlier that they are making a quick U-turn on the basis of the promise and the goodwill that we've generated from these depositors because of the promise that we made to them.
Okay, so hold on a minute. So
of course,
since I want all of us to even have to do so, I go back to the NPP manifesto that says the financial support provided by the Akufo-Addo government ensured no depositor would lose a peso of their savings. All depositors of banks, saving and loans, and microfinance institutions by the end of September this year would have received a full 100% refund of their deposits.
So you see,
this was launched in August 2020.
Yes, but beyond
before
this,
your manifesto. Now it says you would have received your monies in full.
Yes, so beyond what I
end of September. So doesn't this tell you that the government had plans to actually pay those people before you launched your manifesto?
What has been their most profound communication relative to the payment of the depositors? They continuously made arrangements and said they were going to pay them in bonds, and they had to discount it. I mean, if they wanted cash, that has been their most profound communication.
Here they tell you in their manifesto, they tell you that by end of September this year, everybody would have received the money in full.
No, but this is coming on the back of the same people telling you in July that 98% of the people have been paid.
But when you say, when you say they've paid because you promised it, I am saying on the 22nd of August, when this manifesto was launched, this is what they put in here. How does that amount to stealing your idea?
Of course, that's what I'm saying to you, that their most profound communications relative to this has always been that it's either we've paid them or we're going to pay them with bonds, or 98% of the people had been paid. Our conversation, our reaction now is that are they suggesting that only the 2%, if they are ready to admit honestly that we lied to you earlier by saying to you that 98% of these people had been paid, then we can have a conversation on it. But on the basis of their most profound communications relative to this particular matter, we are saying to them that they are making a quick U-turn on the basis of the promise that we made to the depositors.
Winston,
yes.
I said that at one of our briefing, okay, government communicators, we were told between 1.7% and 3.7% of these depositors are going to get, their payments in bonds as of the time. And I'm talking about March, April, thereabouts. Okay, that was when these briefings were given. Okay, so fast forward, we said we are going to, by end of September, the receiver was to do certain things. There were some hiccups in the processes of getting depositors and all that.
So the question,
so if we've decided to,
George,
convert all
George,
these 1.7,
George, you took a decision.
Yes.
You took a decision to pay them by bonds.
Yes.
At what point did you find the money to now decide to pay them in cash? In fact, before the launch of the NPP's manifesto, the NDC had started championing this, and they had said they were going to pay them.
Before the launch?
Yes, before the launch.
I'm telling you, by March, April, we had all these issues.
By March, April,
yes,
by
we're
March,
talking
April,
bonds.
You were talking bonds.
1.7%.
And the point is that, hold on, George, you were talking bonds.
Yes.
And you consistently talked bonds.
Bonds, yes.
The NDC starts a campaign that says, we are going to pay you. Mm-hmm. Now, you get this into your manifesto. All of a sudden, 3.56 billion has been raised to pay these people. How do you convince anybody that this is not as a result of the NDC's decision to pay these persons in a year?
No, we know the NDC was not committed to what they were saying, because this whole
How crisis, do you know they were
this
not
whole
committed?
crisis started under them. And what they did, you see, was that they capped it at 10,000, right? For people, you go get your 10,000 and you will not get anything again. They did that when they were in office. DKM is a clear case, okay? And every Ghanaian is aware of that. And coming back now, they're saying, hey, we're going to do this. We saw that one, I would say it was political propaganda or expediency. They are taking advantage. But governance is a continuum. Which continuum says that this government, once we are in office, we are committed to the payment of all depositors, and which payments were ongoing. We start at the point the bank depositors, okay, 98% paid. We have the SDIs and the other microfinance groups and co who have to be paid as well. And so if the government decides at a point in time T that at this point, this money's bonds can be turned, the banking sectors are also there, okay? If you go discounting your bond, you are doing that with the banks, right? And so if the banks say, government, now we can't pay them their papers in cash, and government accepts it, come on, it goes into that agreement.
You decided
nothing
to pay
wrong
them.
with that.
No, you decided to pay them with paper.
And we launched our manifesto before that.
Hold on, at no interest.
Yes.
At no interest.
Yes, but at no interest, but you can use it as a guarantor for your facility.
No, hold on. With no interest.
We said that.
And if you want to actually get your money cash, you have to discount it.
Yes. Or?
So at that point in time, you had made it very clear.
Yeah.
You were deferring payment.
Yes.
And that's a nice way of doing it.
That's bond.
Yeah,
yes.
bonds. You're deferring payment for another time.
And it's acceptable
5 years. It is. No problem.
Fiscal space, yeah.
Yeah, but that's because you don't have the ability now. So I'm deferring payment for another period. So
now we had pumped, as you said. You're right.
When I ask my question, you
understand. Thank you.
At what point?
Yes.
Did you find that money? And at what cost would that be to the state?
Yeah, as I said earlier, governance is a continuum. Mm-hmm. And so if we took a decision at a point A that we will issue papers for between 1.7 to 3.7% of all depositors in the categories, and then we said, okay, going forward, because, you know, people invest. You know, we are now on the heels of COVID. You brought COVID in. Investors, individual, private businesses, and co are all hit by the COVID. And so if government can take a step to say, let's alleviate or ameliorate the difficulties and challenges of these depositors whose monies are locked up and have been given bonds, okay, by making it cash so they can reinvest or get their business started and then get something out of it. What's wrong with that? We are making the economy fluid. Good. And that is very important for the growth of the economy.
Let me get to Sadiq.
Bouncing back.
Let me get to Sadiq.
Thank you.
So that he can also have his time. Yes, Sadiq, any reactions you want to make to that? Oh,
yes,
to the next issue.
He's made the point about the fact that this crisis started on us. I mean, we've not run away from the challenges that we had with the likes of DKM and how we're working to fix it. But beyond that, we've consistently also been making the point that some of these banks and microfinance organizations were shut down unjustifiably. We've consistently referred to the reasons or the basis cited for the collapse of Heritage Bank, for instance. We are aware of the ongoing legal processes between the Unibank and the receiver, for instance. All of these things point to something that we've consistently said, that these banks were shut down unjustifiably. So the NPP today cannot put it on us and say that the crisis started under us, regardless of the challenges that we had with the likes of DKM. These problems they had the perfect opportunity for them to fix it. How much did they need, for instance, to help, the banks in the challenges that they were having? They spent far more than the banks they needed to give to advance to the banks to enable them meet some of these challenges that they were having. So today the NPP cannot look to us and say that you started it or you created this particular. It's a problem that they created onto themselves. We have made a promise to fix it. But beyond that, our presidential candidate, even before the launch of the manifesto, had been on a campaign trail and has been speaking about this, even before the launch of their manifesto. So these promises had come even before by a presidential candidate, even before the launch of their manifesto. And that's one of the reasons why, that's some of the reasons that forms the basis for our commentary that the NPP had stolen some of our.
When you say the banks, government spent more than the banks needed, how much did the banks need?
The banks needed $12 billion. Right, and the government has spent 12 billion cedis, and the government has so far spent 21 billion cedis. Yes, in what they call their push into this sector. So our point is that you spend far more than you would have given to some of these banks, which are owned by Ghanaians, to help them meet some of their challenges. Okay. So that's why we say that you cannot look at this.
We have to move on.
You move by just a quick one. Winston, my information, maybe you verify it, is that the NDC government under His Excellency John Mahama had pumped almost $8 billion, okay, in supporting the banking sector. Okay, the governance structure was the problem. We had said that they had toxic books. What it means is that Sadiq may be having 100 million cedis in Capital Bank, for instance. If you go there, there's not a dime in Capital Bank in the name of Sadiq, but the books have recorded it. Okay, the money has been taken by maybe the directors and co. And so if you go pump money without looking at the structure, then you are pouring money into the drain. And that's exactly what he did. 600 million for a certain bank, they just shared it to get other banks there, pushed money outside offshore to Sierra Leone in diamond business and go. All these things are there.
We have to move on.
And so you cannot go the same way and assume that it's 12 billion. Because the toxicity of the books tells you it goes beyond that. That is how come we pump these money to restructure it and recapitalize the sector.
Let's move on because this is not the main issue. I mean, when you put money in your account, it wouldn't. The money won't stay.
Exactly. Anytime you need it, you must have.
Yeah, but the money won't stay in your account. It's a liability to the bank. The bank must trade with it and give you some more.
You go the next day, you want 200, they can give you.
Yeah, well, the bank must trade with your money and get. And that's why the banks will engage in other investments, particularly if they give loans out, it becomes assets to them. But let's move on. Sadiq, so you said they've stolen your this idea on salvage vehicles.
Yes.
How?
Well, so again. We are aware how the MPP had made a move to ban salvage vehicles and rather encourage the setting up of local vehicle plants in the country. We said to them that this is good, but it doesn't, solve the problem because you are cutting off a number of people in the value chain. We made a point that when the salvage vehicles come into the country, beyond the safety arguments that you're making, there are a lot of people that it touches within the value chain. We've consistently spoken about Swami Magazine, whose business, or the magazine and Kukompe and Co, whose business is on the basis of these salvage vehicles, for example. So without any plan to include them in anything or any program, you can't but put a ban on these salvage vehicles and then go for this local vehicle assembly plants. We said that this will cut them off. So we made a promise that our government would ensure that the ban or the purported ban ban on the importation of salvage vehicles, known as accident cars, will scrap it. Then again, we see what the NPP do. From having to make a move to institute a law to ban it in place of something that they had come up with, now on the basis of the promise that we make, what are we hearing? We're hearing that the NPP are suspending that the purported ban on salvage vehicles. We are saying again that our superior arguments related to this won the day, and consistently in the ways the NPP has behaved, when they realize that, okay, we're beginning to gain some goodwill within this particular people, within this particular group, the NPP makes a sharp U-turn and say, okay, we're holding on this particular ban. Again, we're saying that on the basis of the timeline in terms of the things that have played out, we're making the argument again that the NPP are making a U-turn on the basis of the promise that we make and the goodwill that we're generating.
Does that worry you?
Well, it does. It does in the context of the fact that the NPP has consistently made the point that we were incompetent. They've always made the argument that the alternative is empty. But in this particular case, what we are saying is that the alternative is rather not empty.
Shouldn't that make you happy that they're implementing your policy?
It should. Where this makes us happy is the fact that at least it's elevating or is shining the spotlight on the NDC within the context of the fact that indeed we have the men, we have the thinkers, and we have actually been the people that have superior policies, and we consistently made superior arguments relative to that. But in that case, at least, I mean, aside from the fact that it makes us happy that at least you're copying from us, I mean, we are concerned that you that have consistently, I mean, position yourself as the most intelligent, as position yourself as the alternative with all the answers to the problems of the country, are looking to your position to steal ideas from them.
Could it also be of concern to you that if all these things are implemented, then when you come into office, some of the things you would have loved to implement would no longer be available for you, and so you'd have to begin to look for new things?
No, I mean, for us, like I said to you, this points to the fact that we've always been thinkers. This points to the fact that the alternative isn't scary. The alternative have always made superior arguments. On the basis of that, again, we would look at some of these things. It's still in our manifesto. We are very confident that in making their U-turn, they would have it wrong and they will not be able to do it in the ways that
you wouldn't want to help them do it right?
No,
for the sake of Ghanaians?
Of course, we will do that. But beyond that, we have actually put a promise.
So why do you say they'll get it wrong?
It's a matter of, they'll get it wrong also because we know their initial decisions.
Are you praying they get it wrong?
No, we are not praying they get it wrong. But on the basis of the fact that the people will rather trust us and not the MPP, we know that the people would vote for us to come in and do it in the ways that we envisaged or intended it.
So you said, I mean, salvage vehicles from the 1st of November were banned.
Yes.
What changed? NDC promises and you changed it again?
Winston, you're in the media and you know for a fact that there's been continuous engagement on these salvage vehicles issues. And at points, we've had practitioners in the arena saying they've not been properly consulted. We've heard that. They say government didn't consult them extensively to the point that we would take a decision to completely ban the importation of salvage vehicles and co. So as a listening government, we decided, wait a minute. Once some are saying we've not engaged them extensively and thoroughly, we need to, put a brake on the pedal and then, get them properly engaged and then we move forward, okay? And so if we press the pause button, it doesn't mean we've suspended the, move. What it means is that we're going to properly engage the practitioners in the arena to assure them that the fact that you are scared that the ban of importation of salvage vehicles is going to take away your job. It's not the case, because once we have vehicle assembling plants in Ghana, it's going to even open bigger opportunities for you, because you are then going to be employed into the system.
When did you start the consultations with them?
Oh, the consultation started way back. Okay.
And when it started way back, why didn't you say you suspended the implementation?
Oh no, but why once your time is getting near, and the groups are coming out to say you didn't consult us well enough and others, as a listening government, you must take a second look at that.
The groups have been complaining long before the law.
Yes, and so we had to listen.
Why didn't you take that decision at the time they complained and said, you know what, let's hold on as we engage you further?
That's what we have done.
Why did you wait?
No, we didn't wait.
Why did you wait? Hold on. The consultations had been there, and in fact, in the media we had these conversations. Lots of them. I mean, SEPs had reached out to all of us in the media. So I know this.
Yes, I know you know.
At that point, why did you not say, we will have to hold on the implementation?
Yes.
And why did you wait for the launch of the NDC's manifesto? Why did you wait for the NDCs to start campaigning and saying, we would reverse this law, only for you to come back and say it's been suspended?
The fact that it's suspended doesn't mean it's been reversed. I told you consultations are ongoing, that it should be thorough and detailed. Then before you announce it, government circles must have that thorough understanding and appreciation at cabinet, amongst ministers, amongst chief executives, to say that this is the way we're going. But it's like the communications with the practitioners in the industry is not being well understood as we envisioned or envisaged. So what do we do? Let's pause, get more consultation within government circles, and then get the people, the practitioners in the arena to understand that we mean well with this policy. It's important. Governance, hold on. We stop governance because there's going to be election?
No, hold on.
We have up till the midnight of 6th of January, okay, before we re-swear in President Nana-Addo on the 7th, okay, for his second term. And so until then, we are clothed with the powers by the Constitution of Ghana to so take decisions on behalf of the Ghanaian people, okay? And that is exactly what we are doing. We are not saying somebody's opportunistic position because they've seen that, oh, this thing, the people are not too happy with government on that. Let's take it and move out to say we're going to stop it, okay? Those are issues, opportunistic. But it's their own beef. It's their strategy. I will not begrudge them for that. But we as a government need to make sure that it sinks down into the people's minds and understanding that government actually means well. The alternative to this is this. If they understand it well and accept it, they will see that that is even better than getting the salvage vehicles coming in, because we know the rate of accidents and all that that involves these salvage vehicles, especially when the accident affects part of the engine and others, and you don't know. It's been brought, it's been redone stronger, then those things are there. So when you look at them and you do the proper thing, you know, they may say, okay, let's go ahead with the ban, we understand it, or let's suspend it for the next 5 years and review it and let everybody follow through, so that people will not have the panic and fear that they're going to lose their jobs.
So there's a possibility of reintroducing the ban.
Once the word suspend doesn't mean cancellation, right? You and I agree on that. So it is suspended for further engagement. So there's there's also the possibility it will be wiped off.
My question is, there's a possibility that the ban could be brought back.
There's also, there's a possibility. There's also a possibility that it will not be brought back, following through with the engagement, the thorough and detailed engagement with the practitioners. And assuring them that we mean well for them.
I made a point earlier that the people...
So it's not about NDC.
The people really trust us to scrap this particular act because of... I mean, if you listen to his commentary, he's saying that we took advantage of their passing of the law in March 2020 to make a particular promise. Obviously, from what he's saying, you would understand that it was on the basis of the promise that we made that they made a U-turn, and not necessarily because they actually believed in it. And one is, you asked me a very good question related to the fact that you've not scrapped it off. You've not made a promise to scrap it off. Yes. You say you suspended it. Yeah. We have made a promise to scrap it off entirely because we thought that it's cutting off a lot of people within the but we are saying that you are making a U-turn. Take a look at when they passed this particular act, March 2020. You wait between March 2020 till now. You are now realizing that you've not done enough engagement or white stakeholder consultations enough to want to now suspend this. What was the consultations that went into the passing of this particular act in the first place in March 2020? So we are making the point that on the basis of their flip-flop and their inconsistent communication related to this matter, this particular government is not committed to this, most importantly, and the people cannot trust them to ultimately scrap it in the ways that we've envisaged it. Of course, on the basis, like I said to you, on the basis of the goodwill the People's Manifesto is generating, they are looking to sort of stampede or stake a claim to some of the promises that we've made. We made a specific promise. You pass a particular act, you saw to the passing of a particular act. Prior to the passing of the act, remember the conversations that had gone on in Parliament. You continue to let everybody know that, oh, we've done the wide stakeholder consultations enough, and you thought that what you had in place of that was a superior one. Now, down the line, some months down the line, after the NDC had made specific promises to scrap it, you come back and say, okay, you know what, suspend it, let's hold it. But even with that, you are still not making a promise to the people that you are eventually going to scrap it. But then again, we are saying that if you scrap this or this particular law, the argument we've consistently made is that it's going to cut off all these people in Swami Magazine and Kukumpe and Abosokan, because it is a huge industry. It's a huge industry that cannot be overlooked. Yeah. You did not set up any plan, institute any plan to accommodate all these people when you're passing this particular act in March 2020. So on the basis of these inconsistent communications and now having to come again and say we've suspended it, we make the point once again that the NPP is stealing ideas from our manifesto.
Listen, we are not stealing.
Hold on, I'll get to you. I'd just like you to wrap it all up for me. Sadiq,
yes.
Finally, yes.
Yeah, so we've gone into 3 different things. I wish that would have gone into even the Lancashire in terms of education.
I'll give you a chance to
on the basis of their inconsistent communication relative to Okada and how they initially dismissed it and wanting to jump on it to their vice president communication, which is clearly out of touch with what the party has consistently been saying, on the basis of the issue relative to salvage cars and their inconsistent communication, having to make a U-turn, we are making a strong point to the NPP that they are looking to us and trying to steal our ideas. But most importantly, the people trust us, who have consistently made superior arguments relative to these promises that we made to them, to deliver on this, rather than the NPP, who have had to make inconsistent communication, having to now make a U-turn.
Thank you.
Winston.
Sadiq, finally, in a minute. Yes, our time is up.
Thank you, Winston. We have not stolen anybody's idea, especially with the salvage vehicles. We suspended it. They say they are going to scrap it. They're 2 different things. Okay, so the Ghanaian electorate is clothed with a position to determine between the 2 which one to go for. Again, on Okada matters, we've stated our position clearly. Okay, and then on teacher licensure, you were going to teacher licensure. It's a way of making teaching professional. Okay, for us to be accepted internationally, that's another issue. Another one, the student rental something.
Why are we not writing the exams this year?
Why are we not writing the exams? Well, that one maybe, it doesn't mean we've cancelled it. Whatever challenge, I don't know why that is happening. And so, as another matter. Then the other serious one, which, relates to us, we'll build airport in Cape Coast. They say they're going to build airport in Bolgatanga. And the last one, the students' loan issue. Okay, they go in and that's why they postponed their manifesto launch for about 2-3 weeks to be able to get all these things. So we are not stealing anybody's ideas. We are in government and we are implementing our manifesto promises to the Ghanaian people.
Thank you very much, George AEC, and thank you also, Sadiq Abdullahi. And that'll be all from us this evening on Joint Caucus. My name is Winston Amma. It's a long weekend, 21st of September being a holiday. Make sure you drive safe. Make sure you pay attention on the road so you arrive alive. Do have a lovely weekend. We're out.
Thank you.